Yeah.
Yeah.
Billy, you growing a mustache?
No, I'm just starting to grow a little bit more facial hair in between shifts now.
Oh, finally hitting puberty.
Hey.
Hey.
Once a boy, now a man.
It's about time the curtains
a
match
boy.
the drapes.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
You do. I feel like Billy could pull off a decent, like a firefighter mustache. You know, like Phil's, just without everything else attached to it from the upper lip down.
Trust me, if I could grow one, I would definitely have one. But there's a reason why I don't have one. So
I think you totally could.
I've always said I can't transition to Bill instead of Billy until I can grow the stash. So that's what we're waiting on.
Oh, is Phil already frozen? Jesus.
Felipe.
Here we go.
Have you guys been having issues?
Oh wait, there he is.
Phil?
Are you messing with me?
No.
Or were you actually frozen?
I was actually
he was just
frozen.
really still.
Yeah, I figured out that if I turn the Wi-Fi off, leave it alone, and then turn it back on, it might come back, which is really, really frustrating because for those of you listening, me, Billy, and Smitty were just talking for at least 5 minutes off air on the same freaking program, and the minute he clicks the live button, my feed takes a shit.
That's right.
Welcome to Snakes and Stogies.
Episode 163. Brought to you by blackboxcages.com. Please, if you have not checked them out, go to their Facebook, go to their Instagram, send them a message. You got questions? Guess what? Response time is very quick. Lead time is very quick. If you go to blackboxcages.com and you end up putting something in the cart and you proceed to buy it, if you put in the code THN at checkout, save yourself a little bit of money. Every bit counts. And you will see the black box difference.
1000%.
Take the Pepsi challenge on these racks and cages, kids. You won't be disappointed. There will be no mistake. This isn't Crystal Pepsi. This isn't Zima. This is Coke.
Bonafide Bartles and James.
Got to make sure I specify that before YouTube thinks we're talking about narcotics.
Yes.
And then hop on over. Again, if you're already on Facebook and you're already on Instagram, then you need to go over to Puget Sound Pythons. You need to follow them. And then you need to go on Morph Market and follow them on there. Stay up to date with what they've got going on. And then Fulvius Apparel.
Shameless plug.
Yep. It's new. It's happening. It's cool. All the hip kids love it.
Get your Methropeltis on.
That's right. I'm wearing the Methropeltis Not Even One shirt, which you texted me this morning asking about it. And then I had at least one other person message me asking about it too, like kind of trying to explain it. And it's such a podcast inside joke kind of thing that at this point that I have to explain it to people. You know, it's like the old drug commercials and my hatred for Getula stuff.
Well, I think it's funny because I did not grow up in the South, so therefore there was not that much meth, if not any. I didn't even know what meth was until I moved to the South. So
yeah, they used to have the commercials that were absolutely brutal, and it was like meth, not even once.
Yes, they did.
And
yeah,
Joe asked, "Are you going to buy the website for Fulvius?" I'm in the process. I was literally before we started working on setting up a Shopify store because right now I have this stuff and I'm posting about it, and people don't know where to get it. So
yeah,
getting high on Floridana.
I was just gonna say Nate's got the right idea.
Why don't you just inhale angel dust?
You like to get wet?
Be better for you. What are you smoking
anyway? Tonight, well, I found my Gurkha hat. It was in a drawer.
It wasn't in the trash can?
No. And because you love Gurkha cigars so much, and I've been on a Gurkha kick lately, tonight we're smoking the Gurkha Beast.
You mean the Gurkha Least?
It's actually probably my favorite smelling Gurkha. It just has a really great natural tobacco aroma. It's good and oily. It's real dark, super Maduro. And this one is, I think, fully Nicaraguan, if my memory serves me right. So
Nicaraguan Puro.
very excited.
Puro. Better secure the domain if you haven't. Haha. Yeah. I'm afraid it's going to get pirate. Like someone's going to get it and hold it for, like, hold it hostage.
That's what they do.
I know. It's horrible. My
That's
favorite
the
cow
advice
king
you
says-
always get
Yeah.
with any website idea.
Yep.
hmm
Look, that's Billy's grin. He's saying, I'm going to go buy that domain right now. Say, Smitty, if you want this domain, give me $5,000. But we can settle right now.
5,000
$20.
corn snakes.
Yeah.
That's what Billy needs, more corn snakes.
I need 150,000. But we can settle right now for $20.
Corns and cow kings, please.
Yes.
Is that
Any king
sarcasm?
No, I'm not a king snake guy either, man. I'm with you on that one.
Billy gave me his only king snake, and I cherish it and love it.
Do you still have corns from me?
Yes.
A lot?
Yes.
Damn.
But to be fair, I haven't really done much as far as trying to move them either.
It's
They're
the
cool.
rarest locality.
Yeah, that's been getting me a lot of, actually it hasn't been getting me
He
interest.
said that's been the problem.
Yeah. No, honestly, and nothing against the F1 animals, but the stuff that you outcrossed, I guess that are like het ghost or something. Dude, the silvers developing on those are
Really?
I'm digging those more than the F1s, to be honest with you. So
That's
they're
cool.
I got I think 4 or 5 holdbacks total from both of those clutches that the animals you have came from, and they're all I'm pretty happy with them all so far. They're looking good.
Yeah, I always kind of fought the corn snake thing because I know myself, and being a collector at heart, I know what I do. And since Chris decided to break the ice for me, I've already gotten a
that's the
couple on my
problem.
own. Yeah, he just sent me some stuff, and then I ended up getting another one. Was it a couple months ago at one of the Tampa shows? Yeah, I'm just already planning more, and
So
it doesn't
I remember
stop.
you were telling me, you're like, man, I'm really want to get in this reverse Okati thing, and you start sending me some pictures. And then was this past Daytona you got your first reverse Okati?
Yeah, that was the Tessera that I did.
Yeah.
Let me see real quick.
That came from Firehorse.
No, I forgot who I got
Okay.
who I got that
You
one
get
from.
that from Lee?
Maybe. I honestly forget. Chris, like at the end of the show, was like, "Billy, come here. I got a snake for you." And where's it? This guy.
Oh yeah, look at that thing, dude. Billy and his stripes.
Yeah,
I mean,
predictable.
it doesn't. If you want stripes, then it's like there you go.
Yeah.
But then I also got the one I got a couple months ago was it's a high white, like really, it's almost all white reverse Okati that I was eyeing, and I know the guy. He usually sets up with Lee at the local shows here, and he was like, "Hey man, I'll give you a good deal," and I couldn't pass it up. I had a hood with me, and he was just looking at me like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, as I'm handing him the money, I'm like, "I don't know, man. It's just happening." It's one of those things.
That's good. Lee's the one that we got the Blotch Kings from.
No, that was Parker.
Oh, it's Parker. That's right.
Yeah, that's Parker.
That's right.
Oh, Dan. I have some
Yeah.
corns from Dan that are phenomenal. I've got my Loma Alta Bairds came from Dan.
Yeah,
They're
Baird.
phenomenal.
And Dan produced Anna Maria's Pumpkin King too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he did.
Yeah, he did.
Dude, she's in the group chat right now. She says hi. She is taking such good care of that freaking king snake. It is a beast among beasts.
Yeah, I mean it's a king. If they're gonna do king things,
I know, dude. And it's funny, man. It's so much personality for a noodle. I love it.
Well, that's the perfect thing for a first snake. You know, next thing
Yeah,
you know,
it
she's gonna
really
be
is.
getting a rack, and she's gonna be, hey, what can I pair this to, and all that.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Smitty, did we cover what you're smoking tonight? What do you got, Bubba? As you light it up, I can hear it sizzling.
I decided to do something a little different this week, so I did a
Whoa,
770 CAO flathead,
nice.
which I usually
Nice.
don't. Anything over like a 60 gauge, typically I'm just not really into. But I was looking at it on the shelf. I was like, I haven't had a flathead in forever, and I was like, let me go ahead and just get this monstrosity, this
Nice.
phallic monstrosity.
That pseudo box press deliciousness. And you straight cut that one?
Yeah, like 3 times.
Oh, really? Why?
I had to do it in like pieces, like one part here, one part here, one part here.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Oh, look at that corn.
Yeah, it's the high white one.
Yeah.
Dude, that's like near palmetto looking. Look at it.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't say no to that.
Dude,
'Cause,
the
like,
extreme reverse Okati stuff is freaking awesome. Like I will eventually have some in my group, but like I saw some of those testers they had at Daytona and I was like, oh my god.
well, give me some time, buddy. You know a guy.
That's like one of the few morphs. I mean, maybe not in general, but for the most part, like you see a picture of it and then you see it in person, and they almost look better than the pictures, and the pictures are usually pretty on
Absolutely.
point. You know what I mean?
I always told myself if I got in the corns, it would be the reverse Okatee stuff, and I always held off because, like I said, I know myself, and freaking Chris just sending me stuff. I was like, well, I already got corn, so that breaks the ice. So why don't I, you know, do that? And he made sure that he found one for me in Daytona. So
That's awesome.
they're cool.
He's
They're
a bad
cool
influence
snakes.
like that.
And
He
man,
is.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. I am not a big albino guy. There's 2 snakes that the albino just does it for me, and that's Darwin carpets and corn snakes. I just feel like all the other albinos it just doesn't do it, but those 2 species they just set it off, you know.
I like more whites than oranges in my albino stuff. Like in corns in particular. Like I have a buff amel, which is called an orange, and he's nice, but I don't know, like the candy cane stuff. I just stuff that has high white and stays high white. I like a lot. You know, when it starts to kind of orange out and stuff, then I'm kind of like, man. But I have that buff amel male because I like buff and I want to do more with that in the future too. And Chris sent me a female, and as soon as Cox said, "Hey, I got this orange male, you know, I want him to stay in the family. Do you want him?" I said, "Sure," because I was like, he'd be perfect with that female that Chris sent me. So it's too much cool stuff, not enough space.
For me, it's well, obviously Darwin's for obvious reasons, but Florida pines, albino Florida pines,
That's
southern
good.
pines, because they get
Yeah.
like the reds in them, you know, and then Honduran milks too. Just some of the different looks you can get with those, with the bicolors, the tricolors, the tangerines, the albinos, all that kind of stuff. Those snakes are so vibrant and they stay vibrant. You know, I don't know. I think they're popular, but you don't see really people talk about them too much. But I think they're one of those ones that get scooped up before you see them at shows and stuff. You know, at least the good stuff.
Sure.
So.
And Jason Keller says albino cottonmouths, and I am with him 1,000%. And the reason why I don't lump them in with albinos that I like is because I'm pretty sure, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but your T positive cottonmouth is like albino, like you just expect. Your T negative is what we would normally call hypo, and dude, that snake is just on fire, just super cool, just like pinks and oranges, but it doesn't look like an albino, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
that albino Arutu someone posted a picture of a couple weeks ago was pretty banging.
I don't remember seeing that.
I'll have to hunt it down and send you the picture. It looks pretty damn good. And then aren't there albino Malayans?
There is, yeah. Those are cool looking. I mean,
nice.
they look like a normal albino to me. I'd rather have like the red Borneo locality stuff on the Malayans. Calicelesma rotostoma. Billy, if you want me to share
Yeah.
those, send it to me on or here, I'll start a group chat with the three
Well,
of us. So Smitty.
yeah, when it gets time, I figured I'd just go ahead and start sending you some stuff.
Well, I'm gonna make one with you, me, and Smitty so that we can so Smitty can throw them up, because if I do it, the thing's just gonna crash.
Okay, yeah, get that, because speaking of albinos, I just looked up the old albino spilotes.
Oh yeah.
That used to be out there. It's no longer there, but there's also the albino Ganyo that was floating around for a little bit. I don't know if you guys ever saw that.
I did see that.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, which it wasn't super impressive, but it's more just the novelty of it, and just it always takes mutations to get people in like excited about stuff like that. So. Yeah, I just sent it's just a screenshot because it's a video. But.
You sent it to that group?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the albino Dinocystrodon too. Those are pretty neat.
And you guys ever see the pied? What was it? I forget if they were. It was some type of boa. It might have been a Dominican red mountain or something. You start going into, the archive of stuff that showed up, but we never established. It gets kind of sad. But
yeah,
Ben Siegel had that one for a little bit. And I think Jason had some stuff from that guy for a while, and it all just ended up not working out.
Like it just wasn't. Like the stuff wasn't like fertile. Like what was the?
I think it was just trying to establish. I think it was a wild caught animal, and just trying to establish. And I mean, spilotes they're tough enough to breed as it is, and now you got albino on top of it, which kind of weakens things, and you know how that goes. But if there was one,
I was born an albino, and I have struggled my entire life.
Okay. Well, good for you, man. I'm happy you made it out. Made it this long. Phil's talking and he's on mute.
You are not an albino.
There it is. I can see your mouth moving.
Yes. Yeah, Keller, I've seen the albino Dinocystrodon. That's cool too. Again, that's another species, Dinocystrodon. It's so gorgeous on its own that like I feel like the albino just ruins it. Kind of like the albino gaboon. Like it's really cool, but I don't think I'd ever own one, regardless of how expensive they were. I did just send Smitty a picture that is crazy cool. So Rob Kellaway sent me this picture. I don't know if it's like a friend of his or something, but apparently it is I guess it's a striped dusky that was line bred in Switzerland. Look at that freaking snake.
I thought that was some sort of vipera at first.
No, dude, that is a striped pygmy that has been line bred in Switzerland to be that color.
Look at that tail, man.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's just a cool snake.
It's just a cool snake, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Anybody who's listening to this on their car ride home, fast forward to this part and find it on YouTube, because that snake is killer.
All right. I'm just sending a whole bunch of stuff. We end up talking about things as it goes on. We don't have to show them right away. But,
I got you.
So that snake I am getting at some point. She's a Costa Rican locality animal.
Mm-hmm.
And she was imported from Europe. It was her and a male. The male didn't make it for the guy that brought him in. And if you go to the next picture, the Costa Ricans, next one after that, there should be another one. Yeah, that one there.
Look at that.
The Costa Ricans have this recessive mutation that's they're just calling it white phase for obvious reasons. There's a lot of white on it, but the Costa Ricans are known for being very black and all that. So I got her, and I guess I'll do it now. But,
oh, you already got her?
No, I don't have her. I know I got a male that I've really been excited about. I guess showing what I've been up to.
Yeah, man. Dude, that thing is literally a New World Jansenii.
It wishes.
Spilodies are cool, man. Of course, he's not gonna cooperate because why?
Sure, you probably see spilodies out and about more than you do the Jansenii.
Probably, yeah. If wishes were fishes, we'd all cast nets.
All right. So this guy.
Nice.
He's got a ton of black on him.
Yeah.
So that was why I went for him to go with that girl. And I'm hoping, in time that he'll just keep losing losing that color and stuff. But like his tail's completely black.
Dude, that's awesome.
Oh, Jesus.
So like he has no pattern up to, like, he might just have some yellow like the first third of his body and then it disappears. And they're known to the first year or two, like they'll have some color, and then if they're gonna lose it, they'll lose it. So I don't know if he's Costa Rican or not. The importer I got him from, Skylar, was with me. That was kind of funny. He was giving me the runaround, and I'm like, come on, man, like I know you didn't breed these. And
yeah,
you can see him doing the slow tongue flicks like the Ganyos do and stuff. They'll do the head to chin thing too.
Oh, dude, look at that face.
Yeah, they're cool, dude.
You see where they get the name Tiger.
Yeah. They're a cool snake. And honestly, I've been well, let me put them up before I say this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, been there, done that, right, Phil?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So they actually are a lot more docile than I expected them to be when I got into them. Now my Mexicanus that I have, she's hell on wheels. She makes up for it. So if I get a couple that are easy to deal with, she's gonna make sure that I get my money's worth for all of them. But anyway, I got those. I got this guy, and then I ended up picking up that girl just so I could go for a dark project, pretty much. Everyone's going for the Mexicana stuff and the high colors and all that. So I just thought it'd be cool, even though it's not a locality specific, because there's no way for me to know where that guy came from. He's really dark, so I thought a dark project would be really cool with them. So
I feel like just because of the amount of Spilodies that I've personally worked with, they were all imports and they were from multiple different country localities. I almost feel like, and this is completely anecdotal, that the more north you are and the more south you are, the more wiry they are. And I feel like those ones that are like, what is it, southern Mexico and like into Costa Rica and down into Panama, like they're way more tolerant than some of the stuff that's even south of them, if that makes sense.
So yeah, I don't have enough hands-on with enough of them to really say yay or nay on that.
Yeah, and I feel like the ones I had were like 5 foot and lunatic,
Yeah, there's that too. That's like,
yeah.
Well, you've seen the Mexicanus. She's like, you get like, you look into her cage. She's like, oh, you're looking at me, and starts going nuts.
Yeah.
So the guy that I got him from, I won't put names out because I don't want to start that stuff. But a lot of Nicaraguan animals been coming in. So that's where like a lot of the really speckled yellow ones are. A lot of the guys are calling them Mexicanus, but obviously Mexico shut down. So that's not a thing. But yeah, he had 2 Nicaraguans about his size and had this guy, and he had them all labeled as Central American animals. So I was just like, hey, where did these come from and all that. He was trying to tell me he produced them and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, where are the pictures? Oh, I don't got them on me, man. And I'm like, dude, you don't produce Spilodies and not take pictures of something,
Exactly.
Like, yeah, that's not a thing. So
and you're keeping them in CB70s? Sure.
Yeah, okay. So, well, it's funny. Skylar was with me. I met Skylar. That was at the Orlando show, and Skylar hasn't seen me. Like, he just knows me as like, cool, chill Billy. Like, he hasn't seen me really, like, get, like, be real with somebody yet. And I was like, now's not the time. I was like, all right, man, I'll walk around, whatever. So we circle back around, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, come on, I haven't been. This isn't my first day. Like, come on. And they wouldn't give me anything. So I'm like, all right, well, what can you do for me? And he dropped the price a lot because I think he realized I was on to him. So
That's good.
it's kind of one of those things, I couldn't say no, and that's why it's just a dark project, and Spilotes are cool, and he was young enough as an import that I haven't had any issues acclimating him, and he eats frozen thawed. And
I think
he does all this
that
stuff.
gives you a massive leg up with like
Yeah.
those and Gonyosoma stuff. Like you get them as young as possible. Like you were, I mean,
Mhm.
chondros too. Like you're making your life light years easier by getting them young.
Yeah, seriously. Every Ganyo I've ever gotten I was fortunate to, and I was always patient too, to get hatchlings, and I never had issues with getting them to go on frozen thawed. I'd usually just leave them, just drop feed them, and it'd be gone. I always was concerned, especially after reading all the freight stuff on how to get them feeding and all the different tricks he used. I'm like, man, this is going to be fun and interesting to work on, but never ran into that, so far. But I'm sure I'll get into them again at some point. But yeah, that's if you can get import stuff and get them smaller, that's definitely the way to go if possible. It's not always possible.
Yeah, and I know the majority of the smaller ones that I played with were yours, and they were super tolerant. I mean, like they still would do the neck flattening thing. They still do the long up down tongue flicks like a rattlesnake, but they weren't that crazy flighty, jerky thing that you'd expect them to be.
Yeah, well, I also make a conscious effort, especially with species like that, to because if I get an animal, especially if it's a younger animal, smaller animal, I try to think ahead. I'm like, all right, this thing's going to be 7, 8, 9 feet at some point. I don't want to just, as it's a baby, just okay. I'm not worried about it if it gets me or whatever. I want to treat it the same way I'm going to treat it when it's 9 foot, as when it's 2 foot, and I've had very good success with that, to where if I handle them consistently all throughout their life, and yeah, they'll do the tongue flick, they'll do the nail or the neck flattening, and all that kind of stuff. But if if you don't move, no sudden movements and go crazy around them, then they usually just do that, and then they'll get their attention on something else, and it's not that bad.
Well put. Well put. You pulling something up, Smitty?
I have some stuff.
Let's see it.
Not my stuff, but stuff that Billy sent.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we can go. Yeah, we can go into that stuff.
Are you
So disclaimer: those
shifting
aren't my
from-
pictures. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Are we shifting from Morelia into colubrids? Are you part of that great migration?
No, he's just diversifying his portfolio.
I mean, he's always been diverse, but
Yeah.
like,
so I'm definitely.
Myself, Jake.
I guess if I'm going to be completely honest, I'm preparing for the worst. So I've kind of been doing that for a little bit. I don't want to go too deep into this stuff, but just in case things go sideways, because there's a very good chance that could happen here. My second thing has always been whole world rats. So it kind of makes sense for me to, try to get going on some of those projects, 'cause that's always been a goal of mine anyway. Beauties being the main thing that I like a lot. I got a couple, one-off things and all that, but beauties have always been something that's interested me for, years. I think one of the first, my first snake was a carpet, but one of the second ones I looked at was actually a Flavolinius, the copper rats. And it was Ben Siegel at the time, and I emailed them about them because they were $50 or something. I'm like, oh, I'm in high school, I can swing that. And I emailed them, and they were like, yeah, you don't want these things are nuts. And they left it at that. Like, they didn't even humor me at all. I was like, hey, I got a carpet. Yeah, like, hey, I got a carpet. I'm thinking of getting a second snake. I really like these. And they're like, yeah, man, no. And just like that was it. So I was like, okay.
Oh,
I guess I guess that's how that goes. So yeah, I've been slowly getting more into the beauties and the Colignatha stuff, and obviously the rhinos. Those are cool.
Yeah.
Spilotes, all that, and honestly, I've been getting deep. Like slowly, I've been getting deeper into Amazons too. So um, I just there's I like everything, man. It's so, it's so hard, but I guess I've kind of seen that there's a possible writing on the wall of things that could happen. I hope they don't, but if they do, hopefully the other stuff I'm diving into, I can still, do what I do and all that stuff.
I also feel that, and I don't want to speak for you, but I also feel like you went through something similar because you're a little younger than me, but you went through something similar that I went through, where it was like with my knobtails. It's like I've wanted these things for a really long time. I am more cognizant about herpetoculture, and I have the ability, the means, the environment to do it. I'm going to start dabbling and diving in. And I feel like that was the same thing with you, because you've always loved Asian rat snakes and the obscure colubrids. And now, again, I'm not speaking for you, but I feel like now you're kind of at that point where you're like, man, I can do this. Let's do some more,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why, like, when I think the last time I was on NPR, Eric asked me, he's like, so like when did the colubrid stuff start? And I was like, it started the same time the carpet stuff did.
Yeah.
You do like research, and especially as a new hobbyist, you read their requirements and stuff, and you're like, oh man, I can't do that. Or like I thought rhinos were an advanced species for the longest time.
I still think
right?
they are.
Right. Well, honestly, like it was honest to God, it was after I saw him when I was at Rob's place, and I saw how he was keeping his and the room he had him in and stuff, and I'm like, these are easier than stuff I have, like
Yeah.
they're stupid easy. So I kind of talked myself out of it for the longest time, and I finally got, like you said, the more space, the more room, the more means, and I mean, you've seen the collection change, over the years, and you know what I'm doing over here. So it's just a matter of time, honestly.
And I feel like you were doing over rats before Owen was, which makes it even better.
Honestly, I mean, he's breeding them before I do, but
Okay,
I've had him I've kept him longer, but I didn't say anything about him for the longest time because I just, I was still learning them, and it's they're just cool snakes, man. Like they're they're real cool. They don't get a lot of love. It's not like I like them because they're not mainstream thing. Like I've always dug the racer type stuff and all the craziness. And now you're starting to see, especially with the Chinese beauties, all the different mutations that you can do. And, now like I'm on the lookout for McQuards, because those used to be everywhere. And
what's that?
It's just another subspecies of the beauty snake. And they're very high yellow animals. And they were the first ones that, when you used to see the T negatives everywhere, they were McQuards.
Okay.
But, just people get used to the demeanors of, corn snakes and milk snakes, all that, the North American stuff. And they are a little more rambunctious, there's that to it. But, I enjoy that, and I take time whenever I'm taking care of stuff. So I don't get bit that much by stuff. That's kind of usually the thing that people, it's either getting bit, or I've heard people say like, man, these things are spring loaded. I'm tired of chasing them around the room.
Yeah.
You just crack the cage or tub and off they go. But yeah, they're cool. So just trying to up that game a little bit.
Nice. And Randy's in the chat. You got to send him that pictures of that red female later.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I ever did. So
yeah, well, here I can throw one. I'll throw one in.
Yeah.
Thing for him.
He'll fucking love that snake.
Yeah, Randy's got some heat, man.
I know. It's disgusting.
Randy, dude, just goodness gracious.
And I mean this with the utmost respect, Randy. It's painful how amazingly successful you are.
What's even better is that we're friends with him, so we can get some dibs on stuff.
Exactly. So Patrick wants to know: is there specific reasons to why no one's really keeping red-tailed rats? And I think I don't want to speak for the guys that actually keep Gonyosoma, but I feel like it takes a lot of TLC, especially when dealing with imports. And I mean, at least that's my not expertise. I don't have them, but that's my experience. Excuse me.
My experience with them is, and I don't mean this in a bad way, they're one of my favorite species to observe and to have, and I've learned tons about them because they're just fascinating. But as far as captives, they're
Not
very
great.
hands off. Yeah, they're very hands off, and they
Yeah.
are honestly they're they're not fun to keep. Like if you have to touch them, like they're spring loaded. They're like how a lot of snakes will like do the flight thing and they try to get away from you. These things will like do that. They'll shoot out, and then as soon as they realize they're not gone, they're doubling right back, and they're on you. You know, they're like if you look at all the different color variants and stuff that comes with them, you get them green, yellow, gray, orange, all that kind of stuff. The Borneo stuff that's out now that people are going crazy over. Like there's a lot of potential for them to be awesome species to use as projects, but then people get them, and that's why there's only a hardcore, cult following, if you will.
Yeah.
That'll keep them. You're not going to see guys with, a collection of 50 of them. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you are honest with yourself and realize what you're getting into, they're awesome. Like I think Smitty does it the right way. You kind of set it and forget it, let them do their own thing, kind of work around them. I mean, gosh, he's got eggs now. He's got an egg incubating, so he's doing stuff right. So
just fish tanking it, man.
Yeah, that's all you got to do.
There was a many moons ago, Underground imported a bunch of red tails, and some were gray tails, and I don't remember if it was a red tail that dropped or a gray tail that dropped, but they incubated the eggs. They got like 6 or 7 eggs. They all hatched out. They got them all eating on pinkies like immediately, and they all sold to like local keepers, excuse me. And 2 or 3 of the people that bought them would continue to frequent the shop, and I was working there at the time. And they'd bring them in, and dude, they were the coolest snakes. They had no fear of humans.
Yeah.
They ate anything they put in front of them. And I feel like that's just, we need more people like you guys to get them going so that they can be the next good pet rat snake.
I think that's the sort of the breakdown. There's not enough people purposefully trying to produce them because Daniel Schwinn had the same experience with the Jansenii he's produced. They're not just like chondros. Like the captive born babies aren't nearly as nasty as the imported adults.
Right.
They're not hard to get started from everything I've seen and read. It's just that matter of like there's not enough people putting in the focus on them, and I'm hoping now that we have that USGA group, that helps us all kind of network together and sort of get a better handle on who's got what and who's doing what. And I just think that's kind of the issue. People buy the imported adults, and they see them on tables at shows and they look great, and then you take them home and you open up that deli and it's like game on, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, these aren't as sexy as I thought they were. And then that coupled with the stress factor and parasites, and it's just,
yeah, man,
there's a very large discrepancy there, and that's the reason we're not seeing more captive bred ones.
Just
hopefully that
stressing themselves
changes.
to death.
Yeah, and it's they're also one of those species. I mean, the incubation time on eggs is ridiculous.
It's like
so
$1.20, right?
At least
About that, yeah.
You're not getting big clutches that hatch quick. Like it's like monitors almost. Like you're really having to wait. And that's why captive bred babies are so expensive, because it's like there's a lot of work that goes into those. It's not corn snakes, by any means. And I think rhinos are starting to warm people up to a lot of that stuff, though. Like,
agreed.
It's awesome that so many people are keeping rhinos now.
Well, I think I've heard this too. with the ganyos, they're with how we keep and feed in captivity, mostly rodents and stuff. Uh, their eggs get a lot of calcium on them and stuff, to where they're just super thick, and you'll get the eggs to term and then they won't hatch because they're just so thick. So I've talked to guys that have bred them, multiple seasons in a row, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I feed probably 80% chicks, to my stuff," and that seems to help with that. So that's another thing that can be put out there. Maybe a more bird dominated diet would be
yeah,
at least worth looking into if you're getting eggs and stuff.
yeah. I remember somebody was telling me that they manually pip all the eggs because they've had so many clutches go bad because they just couldn't get their egg tooth through it.
Yeah, and they're already thick shelled eggs.
Yeah, they are.
Just like the boiga, the eggs were so thick on. I had a couple of those that they died full term, and it's from everything I could tell, it's literally just because they couldn't get out, because those eggs were just like ridiculous.
Yeah,
like leather.
And I'm really thinking that a lot of the Asian species in particular have like an abnormally thick shell in comparison to New World stuff. Whether that's related to like humidity and outside moisture and is like an extra barrier or something between that and the elements, who knows? But it's wild. Maybe it is a captivity thing where we're just seeing it because we're feeding primarily rodents and stuff, and not the lighter things, but who knows?
Well, you're seeing a lot of people starting to breed. I know in our group we got a couple guys breeding quail and stuff now for their stuff, and I think that's going to start getting more common. You're going to see people, especially with rodent prices now, you're going to start seeing people going to more bird dominated diets for a lot of stuff. Because I mean, you start looking into the natural history of a lot of these species, you start realizing birds a big proponent of that, especially a lot of the arboreal and semi-arboreal stuff that we keep in the hobby. It dominates a lot of the hobby. It's just maybe that'll help out too, that kind of stuff.
For sure. Oh, there she is. Oh man, that picture does not do her justice.
I'm trying to find the one that you sent me, Phil, that when you first saw her.
I forgot about your post service box hides.
Hell yeah. Free 99. No shame in my game. Yeah, they're disposable. They work.
I mean, technically you paid for them via tax dollars, so.
Yes, I did. I don't feel bad at all. That's what everyone gives me crap about. Like, oh, taxpayers doing that. I'm like, I am a taxpayer.
Yeah.
It's got my money's worth. You looking, Phil?
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm trying to get it.
Oh, here it is. I got it.
You got it? You got the one of it in the drawer with the with the aspen?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was another one I sent you that was super red. It was like at midnight. I went to check on her and she was just all fired up. Damn, the problem is we have so many different messaging media. I don't remember which account I sent it.
I just found them both. I sent them to the group. So like what you can't see in that picture. So she's like an orange red, but like coming up her side, like she has white coming up her laterals from her belly on certain spots. I'm not gonna say she's a calico. I'm not going that far, but it's just cool seeing like some white bleeding up, and she's pretty chill too. Especially for an import. So can't wait to throw a tiger to her and see what happens.
Yeah, man. When I was ticking, whatever you want to call it, getting the bugs off, dude, she was super tolerant, and I played with her for maybe 10-15 minutes just to kind of like give her a once over. And I got to that point where she essed up, and I was like, oh no, I waited.
Oh, you lose them?
Oh.
We lost Phil. Oh,
you kicked me out.
No, we didn't. You kicked yourself out.
I didn't touch anything.
Don't kick yourself out, Phil.
There, you could see a couple ticks that fell off her.
Yeah. The reality of
Yeah.
imports and stuff.
Yeah.
No, she's acclimated great. She's taken frozen thawed, right away. Yeah, they're just such cool snakes, man. They're one of those, like, you never have to mess with them. They just kind of do their own thing, and especially with all the different mutations and stuff now, like, they have something for everybody. And yeah, I think there's a lot of people doing some legwork to try to figure out the different, bicolor, tricolor, patternless. Her, like, she has all the speckles, because everything's a mutation. Even the normals are, technically a normal animal is a collection of mutations that are together, So people are doing some work to try to figure out what everything is with these guys. So I think in the next, coming years, we're going to see some cool stuff come out of the species.
So I found the ones I was talking about, and I just sent them to the group. So this was at like midnight, like a week after I had her. And it's a little glary because I'm using a cell phone against a white door. But dude, the color, like, it's just this is the kind of stuff that makes me want to get into them.
Do it.
Every now and then I get the itch to have some again, but
no. Not after all those other ones that I held for you, Billy. I'm done.
Come on, man.
I am done with Corrales.
Come on, man. You see some cool ones, you still got to hook me up.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I've lost all my contacts. You're my last contact.
Oh, gee, thanks.
First and last.
Yeah, even still, these pictures, like that one right there, like, dude, she's so red.
Yeah, she's nice. I'm excited to see what she's gonna fit right in with my group and all that. So,
how many do you have now?
Oh, let me do a quick count. 7 or 8 at the moment.
Yeah, I enjoyed the handful I had. I just don't know right now if that's something I want to not donate, but dedicate the space to. I got too many damn corns.
I get that. They're I mean, they take up as much space as a rhino will.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I sent you all those because I have a pair of calico beauties that I got from Larry Keller last year in Tinley. He's got this line that throws, and of course he got me hook, line, and sinker when he was telling me about it. They're calicos, which is a color and pattern mutation, but they'll like throw these organized stripes that kind of turn into a patternless animal, like as they get older. And my male is already starting to get that really bald back look to him.
Interesting.
So like if you go through all those pics, like you can see straight out of the egg, some of them are just like, those are all calicos, and they usually
the Peterson coastal of colubrids.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way, but gosh dang, I'm predictable.
Yes, you are.
Man, gosh. All right, Smitty for the win. So these are going to be the Peterson line calicos.
Nice.
And
Nice.
yeah, we'll go with that. But man, there's so many. Like, I started looking more into the beauty snake stuff, and it was always the Taiwans and the blues because those are what's readily available. Well, I started looking more into the Chinese, and that's where we have all of our mutations from. So if you guys see anything that's not a Chinese beauty, but it's some type of mutation, 99% of the time it's just mislabeled or it's a cross of something.
Which is interesting because you had taught me that when you and I were shopping, I think it may have been Tampa show or maybe Daytona, and we had seen several deli cups that were mislabeled. And
yeah,
when you spoke to the dealer, they clearly had not produced it, although they said they did. And you tried to like very politely educate them, and they're like, no, this is so and so. So
Well, they went up to Tinley and they had, like the Zirkles talking to him and, other, Larry and stuff. And there's some people you can't say stuff to,
yeah,
and that's fine. It's if they want to do that and they don't want to Google something, that's fine. That's, you know, but yeah, I'm really excited to be a part of this project for obvious reasons. And there's some of the older animals, like it's really cool. It's not something you see all the time, and
yeah.
a normal calico looks similar. It's like a more heavily patterned palmetto with a more color palette to it.
Is he planning on tying these into like the regular calicos to see what happens?
So there, I guess there's a pair of animals that are calicos that throw these things. So he's still trying to like hold stuff back and breed them back and see. Like he's still in the beginning phases of this project. So when he sold me the pair that I have, he was like, "Hey, it came from this pair of animals that has produced these before because they didn't look like they were striped when I got them as hatchlings. Now the male is starting to get that look to him now." So he's like, "I'm not saying it's a anything. Like these could just be straight calicos, and I'm not saying anything else. But there's the potential." So I was like, "You got me. Like I'm in. Keep him coming." He actually has a female because there was a trio. He has a female on his morph market right now that I keep debating if I want to double down just to have an extra shot at possibly getting those, but I'm not sure yet.
Now, do all the beauties have that like matte texturing to the egg? Almost looks like drywall. Because I've noticed that.
I think so. I've only produced the Ridley eye, so
Okay.
I can't speak on the other subspecies. I would assume so, but
yeah,
I don't want to say definitely.
Because I'm in my older age. I feel like I'm more attentive to breeding stuff because I don't really breed, but learning about breeding stuff, I've been looking at different egg structures and like the different textures of eggs. I mean, everything from crazy crystals like Andromarcon to like the beauty eggs being that matte drywall texture, and it's just super fascinating. Super fascinating. Oh, look at that!
So yeah, I took some out so I could show them to you guys. But
hell yeah, dude!
So this is the female that is part of that line that we were showing.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I'm trying to figure out the camera. Her tail is kind of what got me.
It's way more calico than you were describing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is the female. The male's the one that has the more. I'll show him in a sec. But yeah, this was. I only went with the idea to get one beauty snake from Larry. And he just had all three of them in a container themselves, in a display. So I was like, "Hey, can you see if this one's the male?" I was hoping this was the male because I wanted another male. And it was a female. And I was like, "Well, might as well." So I just bought her. And then I went back after I sold some animals and I was messing with them. And I was like, "Hey, I got a problem." He's like, "Oh, man, what happened?" And I was like, "I'm an idiot and didn't get the male for this female." And he's like, "I wanted to say something, man, but I don't want to pressure anybody."
Classic Billy.
Yeah, so I was like, "All right." Well, then he had like this awesome hypo, and I'm like, man, let me see if I sell something. Well, of course, I sold something, and I go back and I pretty much made his weekend because I bought like five. I ended up buying 5 beauties off him.
Nice.
And yeah, it's, you guys know me, so you know when I get into something, and especially with these having mutations, and I like calicos so much and all
Hell
that.
yeah.
But
the Chinese seem to be, from everything I've seen from people that are keeping them, they seem to be much like almost the opposite of the Vietnamese in terms of attitude and like being able to work around them and work with them. And
yeah, they're on record, and I can say with most of the ones I have, they're more shy. They're gonna pretty much run before anything. So funny side story, if you guys don't mind. So I did I don't know if I told you guys this story yet.
Okay.
But there's a local Humane Society, Herpetological Society, and they had me do a presentation, and it was my second one with them. So the first one I did carpets. This one I was like, oh, let me just do old world rats. So I just kind of did everything I had and decided to just do a little blurb on the few I had and just go from there. So I have my adult female, which is about 6 foot, hypo calico Chinese beauty. I'm like, oh yeah, they'll like this one. So I'm holding her and I'm talking, and she takes a swipe at my finger, and I just kind of swat her away. I try to not bring any attention to it because there's some newer keepers in the audience, so I was trying not to bring attention to oh, it's going to bite you, because I'm telling them they're shy, they don't bite, they run instead of that.
That was your problem right there.
Yep. So you think I would learn? Well, I didn't. So, well, long story short, she's wrapped around my right hand and wrist, all 6 foot of her, and then she latches onto my thumb. Like, she doesn't strike; she just goes up to it and then just just grabs it. I'm handcuffed, and they're like, "Oh man, do you need help?" I'm like, "No, she'll get off." So I do the rest of the presentation with her on me, or part of it.
This is great.
And yeah, and I'm like, I'm just like, it's all right. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, do you need help?" I'm like, no, she'll let go. It's not a big thing. Well, she was at the base of my thumb. She starts walking my thumb and then makes the turn to start swallowing, And I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to take an intermission. Let me figure this out. And
that's good, man.
some of the guys came and helped me out, and there's blood everywhere and all that.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, well, I guess you guys aren't going to get Chinese beauties anytime soon. Everyone's like, no. But then I took out the rhinos, and that was the showstopper there. So
nice.
I'm pretty sure everybody in there has been looking for rhinos ever since.
Yeah.
So, all that. But let me see if I can. So this is the male. I don't know if I can show his. So he's got more of the solid back thing. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it's more on his.
You got to put him against your black shirt, so it's like the book cover.
Let's see. That.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps. Well, anyway, he's definitely got more of the stripe going on. He's got the Peterson thing happening. So I'm excited because he didn't have that at all as a hatchling. So him already developing that, I think he's going to be perfect for that project. So
nice. All right. So now explain the inside joke of the Patagonian rat snake.
Is that Smitty?
No, it's Skylar and Jenkins are going back and forth like Patagonian tiger rats.
Oh, that's the Spilotes I showed you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, the freaking guy.
Okay, now it makes sense.
I told Skylar if he wasn't there, I would have probably been a little firmer with that guy and been like, "Hey, man, you're just insulting me at this point."
Yeah.
Like, I don't go to shows and be like, "You don't know who I am." Like, I'm not that guy. But like, if I'm talking to you and I'm like, "Oh, that looks," those are obviously Nicaraguan. That's not Mexican. That's like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just spitting out, countries.
Sure.
And just.
You've never heard of Uwabami Reptiles?
Yeah. Right. So
that's where you need me standing next to you to go, do you know who this guy is?
Don't you know who he is?
Right? Do you know who I've had guys do that to me at work, and I get so mad about it. I'm like, no, I don't know who you are. Like, you're not as important as you think you are.
Well, that's where you lean over the counter at the show and you're like, I'm kind of a big deal. People know me.
Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal in my circle. Yeah.
I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Yeah, no, it smells. Oh, yeah. But well, that was like when I forget who your buddy was a couple Daytonas ago. Me and Casey go up to his table, and he had the water pythons, and he was trying to sell me on the fact that they were captive bred. And I'm like, oh man, really? Oh, that's crazy! Like, come on, like, yeah, the captive bred Queensland.
Yeah.
Water
Meanwhile, he didn't breed them. Keoghan
yeah,
did.
Right. It was the same ones that you got.
Yeah,
and I knew that. And
literally the same clutch as mine, and Dan Keoghan bred them.
Yeah, I was asking questions for you because I know you were looking for a mate at that point.
Yeah.
It's just funny. And I'm like, dude, I got a badge on, man. I got all pythons. Like, I know what's going on.
That's good, man. That's good.
Good stuff.
Oh.
So
they're real.
Anyway, back to the beauties.
They're totally
So like
legit.
all the different like the different calico looks and stuff. It's just like anything else. There's variability, and I'm starting to realize I never looked into it that hard. I just kind of thought a calico was a calico. That very well could be the case, but I think there's more. I think there's more to it. Could be, and how do you don't find out until you work with them and prove things out yourself. Then you start looking at the hypo stuff or T positive, however you want to look at it. It seems like the old world rat stuff, hypo and T positive, can sometimes be interchangeably used. So that just confuses things. But if you start looking
like the cottonmouths we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
I mean, that's how it is with the Bairds, hypo and albino. It's like
it's
more or less the same
seems
thing.
like a rat snake thing. Yeah. So you'll see stuff, and some will have red eyes, some will have black eyes, some will have that orange look to them. Like it goes back and forth. But you'll see adults that will keep that orange look all the way up to adulthood, and you'll have ones that kind of tan out and get that. I guess I would compare it to like a caramel ball python when they're adults.
Sure.
Like that real tan and kind of faint purple thing. Like it's real faded out, but the look I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got this pair of hypos that like they were electric orange and lavender.
Wow.
Like lavender. And he had other hypos that were different. They're obviously from different clutches and all that. And just another thing, just want to kind of mess with them. I've wanted to, build my group of them and do that. They're the smallest subspecies, so that helps too. It's not a bunch of 10, 11, 12-foot beauties, blue beauties. Like I saw Skylar's adult blue in the cage. He didn't take them out for me, but goodness, man, seeing those actually stretch out, like, 'cause usually when you see them, they're all coiled up and stuff, and you get a thin body snake like that, they coil up to where like they take up half a dinner plate, but then they stretch out and
they
they're
just
like
keep going.
It doesn't stop. Yeah, they're like 10 feet long and stuff. You're like, holy crap, that's nuts.
That happens to me with the chondros all the time, man. I'll like pull them out to clean something, and I'm like, you weren't that big 30 seconds ago when you were on the perch. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, seriously.
Crazy. You're like, man, these things aren't growing, and then you pull them out, and you're like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, you are.
Yeah, that was, and one more. So when I went to Skylar's place, he showed me a bunch of stuff. His IJs are pop wins, whatever we're doing. Dude, next level. He's like, I know he's kind of doing the colubrid thing more now, but I think that's because he's already gotten his group of IJs like honed in, and goodness, he's got a lot. He has this female blue beauty that he's raising up. I think it's like a year and a half or so. I remember when he got it at the show, I saw that snake on the table, and I really like dark blue, like dark blue beauties. That's what I look for.
Like navy blue beauty.
Yeah, like it's just really dark and stuff. You can get them where they're more yellow and stuff too. There's a lot of different looks.
Yeah, more powdery blue.
Yeah, like the really dark stuff. Well, the one he got like was really yellow as a baby, and I saw those and I was like, oh man, I'd pick up an extra female, but this isn't the look that I'm looking for. This snake transitioned into the darkest blue, zero yellow animal I have ever seen. He's showing me and nothing against his Baron eye. He had some amazing Baron eye. Those were awesome. Like, I get it. I understand you're either a rhino guy or a Baron eye guy. Like, I get it. But I couldn't stop looking at that beauty. Like, it was so dark and so blue. I'm like, dude, I messed up. I should have grabbed one of those. But I thought I knew what I was doing, and obviously not. But yeah, so definitely look out when that snake gets up to size. If you want some super dark blue beauties, Skylar's going to be cranking them out in a few years.
Nice.
It always cracks me up when I think about him and that blue beauty, because I think about the screenshot from the video when he's holding it and he's shirtless and that thing's coming up on him and you see him just screaming.
I saved it. And it's
oh, you got to share that right now. You
Let
gotta
me
share that.
stand by. Poor Skylar.
No
I
one's
don't have
safe.
the video. I don't have the video.
We don't need the video. We just need the screenshot. No one's safe.
So I wish I had the video for my own personal enjoyment, so I could get the live action part of it. But and he's like about as Florida man as you can get in that picture.
That's awesome. That's our boy. That's
Oh,
our
yeah.
boy. Oh
All
man.
right, incoming. Sorry, Skylar.
I'm not. I love it.
Oh man.
No, I hit the wrong button. Damn it.
Oh gosh.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh. He's just missing his crop top.
That's so great. That's glorious.
And I've seen this snake, guys. That snake is every bit of 10 foot long. Like that's not like a little tiny, like that thing will put a hurting on you.
And I mean,
So
it
that
looks
makes
almost
funnier.
it looks almost like he's wearing a sleeve, but that's the snake coming back on him.
And he's got a hook right in front of him and a broom and dustpan on the other side of him. Like he had plenty of things to help.
Well, I think that's what makes it funny is he wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. He's like, oh, that'd be cool. Show my buddies my awesome snake. And then, of course the snake decides to not cooperate.
Yeah, that's glorious. We need to get that on a shirt.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that can happen.
Well,
I'm gonna put that in my pocket.
yes. I think that's a Daytona like group shirt.
Yes,
That's what I think
exactly.
that is.
Yeah, that's not a for sale shirt. That's a exclusive members only shirt.
Like
Members only.
just dead center chest as big as we can get it. Yeah.
And then like right next to it, just say Blue Beauty.
Oh, man.
That's good.
So the other thing that happened when I was at his place, so Nova Guineas, like they're supposed to be like, the chill carpets, right?
Yes.
Mine always have
Oh.
been.
Yes.
Well, apparently I sold Skylar the one Nova that's not.
The 5%er.
Well, we get that thing out, and
my males bit me like it bites me every other time I take them out. So
I don't know. Mine are chill as could be. But he had another buddy there with us, and he took it out, and this thing was like chill as could be. It was absolutely nuts, and he was like, "Son of a bitch! Like this thing is always lighting me up." So it's just another. It was like the trinket, pretty much. Like
the infamous trinket.
Yeah. He's
Who?
still doing great too.
The infamous trinket.
He knows who we're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. Now see, Billy Jenkins knew about it too. Said the Nova was good for him too.
I think they just recognized Billy's scent or something. His musk.
There might be something to it. Maybe that's why I can have all these crazy like nippy species, and they're not destroying me every day.
What's new on the chondro front?
Nothing. Same old, same old. I haven't added anything. Unfortunately, the couple of babies I had, I really got to hone in like establishing those guys. I had a hell of a time. So out of the 4, 2 I couldn't get feeding. Then I got 2 feeding, and then I don't know what happened, man. They just didn't want to live anymore. I was keeping their humidity up. I was feeding them all the time. I was trying to keep them, keep their system going, get them shedding, get some size to them, and they just decided this world wasn't for them. So.
Yeah, it sucks.
But you learn something. You learn more with each one. So that was my second chondro clutch, and I actually got ones to eat. So that was better than the first one. So you just build off of each one. So
that's right.
I try to breed.
Each one of those is a step in the right direction.
That's it. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So,
and this was that pairing was not like an on purpose pairing, right? You just kind of put them together and see what happens.
Oh no, that was absolutely on purpose.
Oh,
those were 100% Lyrae locality animals. Those.
Oh wow, sorry.
That was a hard hit.
God, I freaking love that pair too, man.
Yeah, that was that was tough. But that's part of it. It's part of the hobby. That's how you see who you find. I'm starting to realize you find people that have been in the hobby for a long time, and you start to realize we all have, our gut punches and stuff, and you see who sticks it out and keeps going. That's why there's so many people that get out all the time. The fly by night guys. But yeah, just got to pick it up and try again next time and see what happens.
Yeah, man. I'm down to one sub-oc, and I fully intend on buying more in Daytona. So just got to keep on trucking.
Still one of the best pictures I've ever taken in terms of just composition and stuff, in my opinion.
Wow.
Is of one of those. I think it was the female.
That was the dam, yeah.
Yeah. I freaking love that pair.
So to add to the gut punch of everything, she never bounced back for me.
Oh.
She was a little small, and I was comfortable with it because of the new book, and like the 300 to 600 gram range. So she was in the 5 to 600 range. So I'm like, okay, like let's see what happens. She's not going to go through the motions if it's not good. And she was definitely old enough because you took that when I first got her, Smitty, and that was back in
that was like 2019.
God. Yeah, that was a while ago. She was already completely transitioned, so she was. Who knows how old she was? And I waited until last year to finally pair her, so she was at least 6-7 years old, And she never bounced back. I don't know what happened. The male's kicking good. The female's so wrong. It's pretty good, but yeah, that's probably one of my favorite pictures too, man. You did a good one with that. Her blue was amazing. I did it.
Yeah, I love when it comes to blues on chondros, like that chalky powder blue. Yeah. I love that just chalk paint look.
Yeah, that's the game, man. That's the game we'll get into.
Yeah. And I mean, she did everything that she was supposed to, so.
Yeah, she did. So hopefully next time.
Kicking you in the nuts.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's I don't want to say that's the reason I'm not going, because I had a plan to go really deep into them. Morelia stuff, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to kind of keep those a side project and just kind of, maybe every couple years try to pair them. And, obviously, I'll say the bad word, but, I got carpondro stuff I want to do in the future. And, I'm probably going to focus more on that as far as the green tree stuff than the locality stuff. But that stuff comes up, you never know what'll happen tomorrow. And you guys know me, all it takes is me seeing something and I'm going to scoop it up real quick. So tomorrow I could end up with somebody's collection and
yeah, it's true.
Like, oh, hey, I ended up with 30 chondros yesterday.
They come with a free cup with every purchase.
Nice.
You got to get the cup, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Oh man. I sent you a message. I text you, Billy, FYI.
Yeah, no, I saw it. They're not here.
Okay.
You're vending Daytona this year, right?
I am. Yeah, I got 2 tables. We're going to be next to Hood. We're able to make that work. We're able to strong arm Wayne for that. So, no, he was cool about it. It's a lot easier when you vended the year before because you get that month grace period where you guys get preference first. You can get tables first before it opens up to everybody. So it'll be a fun weekend, like it always is.
Yeah, man.
You guys know it's always the base camp and all that. And I know everybody's not going to hate being next to his table with the Spilotes and the blackheads and the bird eaters and
the Hondurans, the left field curveball Hondurans.
So that freaking guy, man.
Man. Hashtag Team Hood.
Yeah, right. Yeah, team hood. Every time I talk to him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I got those." Like I tell him something I want. Free. He's got carpets now, man. I'm like, you trying to put me out of business? Like, what are you
What
doing?
the hell, man?
Yeah, he's like asking me questions about projects and stuff, and I'm like, I really don't want to give you this like my
Yeah.
idea on it because you're just gonna steal it, you know?
Yeah, it's
It's
like
like
the
that
green
movie,
book
Single
and
White
water.
Female. Just trying to take your identity in life.
That's what I told him. I'm like, man. So he used to do Amazon, so I'm like, all right, well, when are you getting those? He's like, oh, I already did those. I don't want to get back into those. I'm like, all right, so I'm safe there,
Yeah, exactly.
you know. But like, I know he's got Ridley eye, so who knows if he has everything else? He probably does. Um, I'm like, that's funny. Um, yeah, like I didn't know he had womas. He's got womas. I didn't know he had what was it? Calico black rats.
Oh, does he?
Like I really dig those. I was like, yeah, man, I'm trying to find someone that I can get those from and all that. Uh, now I know Clint obviously has them, so whenever I need them, everybody's like, oh yeah, I got those. I'm raising those up. I'm like, dude, what are you like? What are you doing? You
Now,
know,
is he still doing the Bacillinotus?
he's got 3 clutches on the ground as we speak. I just spoke to him today
Jesus.
about it. Yeah.
What the heck, bro?
Yeah. I was like,
Wow.
yeah, man, I still got that male. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep up with that project or not. And he's like, well, I'm sure I can get you a female this year.
Oh my God.
Never ends, man.
Jeez. Yeah, I know, right?
Well, I keep waiting on, he has a striped Spilotes project. And I've been waiting for a while. He's had issues with that male. So I remember before like me and him were buddies, I messaged him and he actually brought it to Daytona for me and another keeper to like see it in person.
Nice.
And he grabbed it and was like, "Here, man," because he always has a bunch of people at his table. It's like, "Here, check him out, man." 'Cause I know you're talking about him, and I know you've made the joke like, "Oh, that's a really big Cali King," because they do look similar, but it's a
Yeah.
Spilotes,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and of course it's right up my alley. They're Honduran animals, like that's where that recessive gene came from, the stripe stuff. So it would fit with my Mexicanus because she's got some Honduran blood in her too. So been patiently waiting, and you know how that goes. They don't all breed every year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's super cool.
How come you didn't stick with the Russians?
Because the pair I got was 2 males, and
Oh, that'll do it.
yeah,
You don't
I
remember that
could've-
crazy male he sold last Daytona, bro?
I remember holding it because
Yeah.
that was the first Russian I ever put my hands on, and I thought it was really cool.
Dude, they're awesome.
I've
Man.
always wanted some, and I was like, I got to catch a glimpse of these warlocks.
Yeah.
And so I held one there, and it was cool. I didn't realize how keeled they were.
Yeah, they're really cool animals. They're super chill. They hit all the boxes. So I have the one male still, but I'm actually trading him for. So outside of the beauties, I really like the Japanese rats. Natural blue and green snakes. It doesn't get better than that. So I've always had a soft spot for those guys. So, I don't have a male, so it's like, well, I don't want to raise. I hate getting adult males and then raising hatchling females. Like big picture, it shouldn't matter, but it. I don't know. In my head, I just don't like doing it. So I was able to work out that deal, and that worked out. Yeah, the Kunisher stuff. I feel like at this point, it's all like everybody has Kunisher Island stuff, but stuff came that wasn't from Kunisher Island, but we're gonna call everything Kunisher Island. It's just like the Cameroon Highland Ridley Eye.
Yeah.
Malaysian stuff comes in every single year, but everything is Cameroon Highland. The Cameroon Highland pair that I bought looked suspiciously like Malaysian animals.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. But I think it's gotten so crossed into everything at this point that everything basically has some variation of that look. That they're all super like blue and green anyway now. You really don't have that kind of brownish overtone that like the normals have that are not on the island that are on the mainland in Japan. So, it's I personally like going into the albinos of those. I geek out. I've told Phil the story before how there's the natural wild population of albinos, and they're in this national forest over there. They're protected. They're federal. They have been since the 1920s. Blah blah blah. All that. You can tell that they've been crossed into the Kunashir Island stuff because they're orange. They'll have orange on them. The ones that are in the wild that are on the mainland, they don't have that high contrast animals that get crossed into them. So they're yellow and white, like they're mostly white snakes.
Wow.
So when I've tried to get albinos, I try to get the ones that are as white as possible with the least amount of orange. Like when I got my last ones at a couple Tinleys ago, I got them from the circles, and Amy was like, "Oh yeah, I like the ones that have the most orange on them because they have the contrast." I was like, "Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I'm trying to go the other way. I'm trying to get the more white animals to get ones that will potentially be more close to the wild counterparts, if you will. Because
Right.
I mean, as much as you can. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect, but
Yeah.
so that's my thing on them. But I mean, like I said, naturally blue and green snakes. I mean, what's not to like? Their temperaments are awesome. They keep just like every other colubrid. When you have a beauty, a Russian rat, and a Japanese rat, you're going to keep them all just like you do a corn snake, pretty much. So
Yeah.
I don't know why these things aren't more popular. Honestly, they're not I can get the beauties because they can be, a little more. They're more racers than anything. But when you get into the Russian rats and the Japanese rats, they act more like a black rat would be, or a yellow rat, or
And I was just gonna say, if you took temperament out of it, I feel like people would still gravitate towards corn snakes over black rats the same way that they gravitate to corn snakes over Russian rats. Just I feel like the size and overall enclosure size. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I can get that. But I guess I compare them more to like the gray rat guys and the
Yeah.
black rat, yellow rat, or eastern rat if you're a lumping guy, lumping fool.
Eleganensis.
Baird eye. I'd compare them to Baird eye. Like
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Well, temperament wise, size wise.
Sure.
So I mean, if you look at the different color palettes and stuff, I mean, the Japanese rat does the opposite of what a Baird does, but like where a Baird has the metallic orange thing going on, the Japanese rat does the same thing, just with blue and green.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I've always looked at it in my head. So
that's cool, man.
What about the Diones?
I am really digging those guys.
They're fun.
They're really cool. I got a group from Chris. He got rid of his European stuff and made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I ended up with the pair of Diones that you sent him, a pair of ladder rats, which are basically Italian pits, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then a pair of leopard rats, which I never thought I would.
Those leopard rats were sweet. I was with him when he bought those. Those things were gnarly.
I think they're het striped too, if I remember him saying that.
Yeah, because Jordan Parrott produced them. He was the one selling them, and he had some striped ones there.
And there's no locality on those in the U.S., is there?
On the leopard rats?
Yeah.
Not on the one. I don't think there is on the ones I have. Chris didn't say anything. I know Matt, he has locality specific ones. I forget what it is, but
okay.
Yeah, he has them. But they're those guys are. They're not the largest producers. They produce it, like 2 to 4 eggs per year.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Like they're. I mean, when you look at them, you're like, man, why aren't these things everywhere? And then like you look into it, and you're like, oh, that's why. Okay, that makes sense. Because if you look at when it makes sense to why things get commercialized and stuff, a lot of factors have to go in. When you start to see what's common, all the boxes get checked and it makes sense. Then you see the obscure stuff and there's always a box or two that isn't checked. You're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's why. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going back to the Diones, those guys are really cool. I think I asked in the group we're in with the other guys, why they aren't, where like are all the other Diones with like all the different localities and all that. I think Matt was like, yeah, they're in Europe. They're not over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which sucks because they're cool. They're cool snakes, man. They're low maintenance. Like I agree with Matt. They could easily rival the corn snakes.
Absolutely.
As far as a good first pet, forgiving. Really don't have to give them heat.
Yep.
Like honestly, if you get them too hot, they're gonna not do as well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying them, and maybe it's a good thing that all the other stuff isn't here because, as I've said a couple times already, you guys know how I am, and I'd end up with all of them. I know there's striped ones.
That was only one of 2 males, I think, in that clutch.
Oh wow!
It was very female heavy.
Well, that's not the worst.
Those things were a bitch to sex.
Well, I bet.
Like they don't pop. Like they don't.
Were you able to pop them, or what did you end up doing?
So yeah, one of the males in particular, like their hemipenes are really short and it's kind of small, so it's almost hard to tell if they are actually hemipenes or not. Because I even I tried to pop them when they first came out of the egg, and then I was talking to Chris, and he was like, sometimes I wait until after the first shed, and it seems to be a little easier. So then I did that, and yeah, it was tough, but I got some peens to show.
A lot of times it just takes some patience, and some guys get they'll get impatient with things and they rush things. Whether if it's sexing or bagging a snake or something like that. I had to teach myself on hatchling radiateds. I didn't have to, but I was like, well, you know what? Because I reached out for people to help, because you always read, hey, find a experienced keeper, have them show you. And I don't know what it was, man. Nobody wanted to show me, so I was like, all right, well, let me figure this out. And once I figured it out and I was able to do it to those guys, and I didn't put kinks in them and I didn't hurt them or whatever, I'm like, all right, I kind of got a feel for it. I get what I need to do. And if you can do it on a small snake, you can do it on anything that hatches, really.
Yeah.
And see, I'm the complete opposite. I was so terrified to pop stuff that I naturally gravitated towards learning how to probe. And I won't lie, I had a really bad experience. Someone was like, oh, well, you don't have to probe it, you don't have to pop it. Like with red tail boas, you can just like roll your finger down it and feel for like the speed bump. And I wound up tearing the skin on a juvenile boa, and I was like, I'm never doing this ever again. And that's why I don't pop stuff. I probe everything. So it's always interesting to see like where you start and which direction you go. Obviously it's good to know both, but
see, and I had a bad experience probing when I was new, and same thing. I didn't have anyone show me. I just kind of was like, all right, I've watched some videos. It doesn't seem that hard. And I went to probe this ball python I had, and next thing I know, he's bleeding, and I'm having to deal with that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, So it makes sense that I gravitate towards popping more and being gentle, and you're more comfortable with probing, which I've used you plenty of times for that.
Yeah. The probing thing, so Emily and Ed, at Snake Discovery, did a video at some point a while back on probing, and the method that she showed made a huge difference in terms of it making it easier, which was putting it in, like putting the probe in parallel
towards the head
with the vent, and then like pivoting it under the vent, and that works way better than trying to line it up and get it all. It just, as soon as I watched that, I was like, oh, that's a no-brainer, and it's worked well for me since. So
I feel like you also have to have a good set of probes And by that, I mean the quality of the stainless steel and not having any rough spots, having it be completely perfectly smooth. And then obviously it's got to be ball tipped because you don't want to stab anybody. But there's so many probe sets that they sell at reptile shows that only have 3 or 4 probes. You need a full set. You need the 10 or 12 different gauge probes because you really should size it to the animal. You know, you can't be forcing that thing in there, or you can't use one that's too small because it's not going to do any justice. You're not going to be able to feel what you're feeling for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Well, too, when you see adult snakes and you see the plug, especially males, you see the plugs that they throw, you start to realize how small, those areas actually are. So it could even be an adult python. And I mean, Smitty, your green tree males, how small are those plugs that they throw?
Yeah, I mean, I have a set of probes, and there's, I mean, probably half of them I will never have a use for because I don't think they're too big. Like I end up
big python ones.
If it's younger stuff, I'm using the smallest gauge possible, and then if it's like adults, I'm going up like maybe a size from that. Like I don't use anything large, even with the like adult corns and stuff. If I have to probe them, like it's never anything large up the scale there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's definitely a good skill to have. As far as the popping thing goes, that one's tough. I definitely don't push it. If it's like one of those things, I'm not sitting there for 15 minutes cranking on the back half of a snake trying to figure it out. If I'm not getting anything in the first, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and I'm probably just going to put it down and I'll try it again, another day or something. But it can be like with horns and stuff and bears, it's pretty easy. But those Diones, for whatever reason, I don't know what it was. They were really tough.
Yeah. I think just because we're on the topic of it, not to sound preachy, I also feel like a lot of times when you see people demonstrating how to pop or how to probe on social media, whether it be YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, whatever, you always see people with bare hands and dirty fingernails, and you're dealing with an open orifice to an animal that already has bacteria, already has possible a gateway for possible infection, and you're exposing their internal stuff, not to get too crazy, and then putting it back inside them. And I feel like you really should have some kind of surgical glove or latex glove or vinyl gloves. You should be washing your hands and you should be sanitizing your equipment. And I mean, Billy can tell you, I like coconut oil, man. It's a great lubricant, and just a tiny little dab will do you. And you sanitize with alcohol, make sure it's dry, so you're not putting isopropyl up in there, and just try and keep things as clean as possible, because I've seen an infected hemipene that somebody probed 3 or 4 snakes in a row with the same probe, and we don't think anything of it because it's like, oh, it's their poop hole, whatever. No, you're cross contaminating. So, and that could lead to something fatal. So,
yeah, little things you don't think about.
Yeah.
Lisa said, "What about the palpate method? Does that only work in pythons and boas?"
I've only ever, in terms of like feeling that what I jovially call the speed bump, I've only had that work for me in boas, but after that one time, I'm out. And you really can't do it on anything older than, in my opinion, again, completely anecdotal, you really can't do the speed bump trick on anything that's over a year old. It's just too muscular, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've always heard it was just for like the boa constrictor stuff. I haven't heard it on anything like no tree boas or rainbow boas or anything like that. It's always been boa constrictors.
I just wait for plugs on pythons.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've tried to do it on some juvenile carpets in the past, and they're too muscular. They resist with that prehensile tail so well that you're not gonna be able to get a good read on it, in my opinion. So
I try to sex my carpets like almost right out of the egg. Like as soon as the whole clutch is out, when I separate them, because I don't do like the whole clutch in a tub until they shed. Like I separate and label and give everybody an ID number straight out of the egg. And they don't have as much muscle tone. They don't have it, like it happens so easy.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I noticed this with the Maclots too. They were, for whatever reason, before that first shed, they were completely docile. They didn't give me any problem. As soon as they shed, it was like they had sunglasses on and then they took them off and could see everything, and it was game on. So I was happy I didn't wait for that, because I just would ended up,
Yeah.
death by 1,000 nips,
Yeah.
from those guys. And that stresses them out too. And they got to worry about teeth and, then more infection and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, that's always worked for me with the carpets. As soon as they get about, 6 months or so, if you have them on a good feeding regimen, you're not popping anything with them, because
Yeah.
they're so, with them being semi-arboreal, and they're just really strong. Like right out of the egg, they can support their whole body weight with their, the last 2-3 inches of their tail. You don't get that without being super strong and all that. So you can end up hurting them trying to force that kind of stuff to go. So just depends on the species, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way I look at it, as far as chondros go, it's like I'm gonna keep this snake because I enjoy it, regardless of if it's a male or female. So I just wait until I get plugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when it
No
comes
real-
to chondros, the shed thing is going to be the game changer there. That's
Yeah.
gonna be the
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it's like whether it, a year old, or it a year and a half or 2 years. I mean, like, you're not going to be breeding anyways. Like, what difference does it make?
Yeah.
I can understand if it's something, designer with, you got sort of plans and you're buying it specifically for a certain project or something. But, if you're just keeping chondros, like, I'm just like, whatever.
Well, I feel like I'm guilty of this, where I've got an animal, let's say corn snake, right? And I'm like, oh man, this is cool. This is a girl. And I want to try and get a similar phenotype, right? Well, I wait and I wait and I find the perfect boy to go with it. And then I wait and I wait and I wait. And I never sexed it. I just took the person's word for it, or assumed it looked slightly hennish. And then I'm stuck with 2 boys, or I'm stuck with 2 girls. And now I'm like, crap. Now the only girls available are hatchling neonates. And now I got to wait even longer. So like, I get that thought process, but I'm also with you, Smitty, on like, dude, I'm keeping chondros because they're pretty. Like, I'm enjoying it regardless. I personally wouldn't get rid of an animal because it was the wrong sex. I would keep it because I would still enjoy it. That's just me. Other people, they have a different opinion of it. So
yeah, and I mean, I got those rats, and I had that. I was male heavy and on green trees at the time, and the guy was like, "I'll trade you, a breeding colony of rats, and with the racks and everything." And I was like, "Sure." It was like,
yeah,
it was I think an underground imported Biak that I got as a baby, and I had raised it up. I had it for the last probably 3 years, and it had shed plugs, and I was just like, I don't need him, and rats were intriguing, so I did that, and it worked out. It's just one of those things, like with the corns and stuff, that's a little different, just because with all the morph related stuff there, and kind of planning down the road in terms of what I want to do with what morph and things like that, then I plan accordingly, and there's more attention to detail paid there. But for most of the other stuff, it's like whatever. Like the rhinos, even, I got those mixed up at some point, because the one that I thought was the female was actually a male, and vice versa. And I had to end up like putting them together to see what was going on, like what was what, and it, didn't figure it out until I had put the pair together that's there now to figure that out. So, and those are tough too, because those come out small and they're so thin. I think Terry just ends up sexing his out, with the sheds through RGI or something.
I think that's what Rob does too now.
Yeah. Like those in the Cyanea, because I had people tell me the Cyanea, oh yeah, you can just pop them. Like, they're so damn thin when they come out. I'm afraid I'm gonna break these damn things. Like they're freaking toothpicks. Like there's some stuff that I'm not comfortable probing or popping, and rhinos would definitely be up there.
And since we're on the topic, again, not to sound preachy, but if your snake is about to go into shed, if it's the slightest bit blue or the slightest bit opaque, just wait till it sheds. Don't try and pop or probe or anything, because you're not only giving them more stress than they need, you're going to have a much harder time trying to do that, because the skin is tighter, their muscles are tighter, everything is drier too, in terms of the outside of their body and their vent and everything. So just wait till they shed. My personal anecdote.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So Smitty, how's that Jansen egg doing? Let's talk about that.
It's still going strong. I mean, we're only like what, not even 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
I candled it, I think Thursday, and there was no signs of anything in there. But as thick as those shells are, and having been tricked by something else in the past, I can't remember what species it was, because I think it was cresteds. I candled an egg and it looked like it was completely empty, but it was, way due to hatch. And then I think like 2 days later, I walked in, there was a baby that popped out of it. But normally when you have a crested and an egg, like, and you candle it, it's like pitch black if they're full term. Like, you ain't seeing nothing in there hardly. So oddly enough, this one, it looked completely empty, and I don't know. But I also, I talked to Daniel, and he said his took a while before they started showing veins and stuff too. So I think that's, again, that kind of goes back to my hunch that the Asian stuff in particular doesn't work the same way that the New World things do, because those corn eggs are like cherry red when you candle those. The Jansen it looks empty. The slugs I ended up tossing, I think, this morning, just because they were, they definitely weren't going anywhere. So just figured I'd throw them before they got nasty. But
That's good, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. Ever since you got those things, I've been impatiently seeing how you're going to do with them, and hoping you get eggs. So I'm happy for you.
I did the math, and I think it's not supposed to hatch until like September.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
Just forget about it then, man.
Yeah.
don't even think about them.
Yeah. Don't even look at it. So now she only dropped the one, or there were other ones that were duds?
She actually ended up laying 4. There are 2 bad ones and the 1 good one in the egg box. And then when I was doing some cleaning last week, I found another slug outside of the box by the hive.
Okay.
And I think the first time I got eggs from her, she laid 3 and they were all duds. So
this is good. Every year moving forward.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
It's I don't know exactly what I'm doing that's causing the 3 egg thing. I mean, they don't have big clutches to begin with. My hunch is I'm not cycling the male enough to sort of ramp up spermatogenesis.
Yeah.
That's sort of the only explanation for it, because the female's definitely, clearly ovulating and clearly, accepting resumes.
Are you getting him going a certain amount of time before her, or because they're communal, or no?
They're cohabbed.
Okay.
And I just started misting them pretty much every morning before I went to work. Ramped up food a little bit. And maybe I just didn't do it enough, I think, with that male in particular. And I know he got kind of finicky with food for a while too, which seems pretty standard, I think, when they're in girl mode.
What about starting all that sooner? So if you started, because I'm trying to think of, like, again, geckos, the boys start testicular activity anywhere from 2 weeks to 30 days before the girls do in the wild. And the girls don't start until the boys are already going.
Right.
So I wonder if you say you started misting them in November, December, let's just say December, right? What if you started first week in November? You know what I mean?
That's probably when I would need to, because I think I went back and looked at that first clutch I got last year, and it was almost the same week.
Yeah.
That I got the 3 bad eggs last year that these ones showed up. So
okay. And
now that I have that sort of information, I can, just like when I figured out she was gravid, I was like, great, now I know it's happening. I can be more prepared. Like, I know they're coming. I can be on the lookout.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, I know this is typically the window. This month is when I noticed that she's laid twice, 2 consecutive years. So now I can sort of plan accordingly ahead of time, like you were saying. And It's like it's putting a puzzle together without knowing what the final image is.
Yeah, you're putting a puzzle together without having a border. You know,
that too. Yeah.
We always start with the frame first, right? The edges. Yep. But yeah, I think if you're missing 3 times a week or 4 times a week at that time, if you started missing twice a week or 3 times a week, 2 or 3 weeks before that, just to kind of get the monsoon ball rolling, I wonder if that would really make a difference.
It might. And I mean, I wasn't missing them super heavy or anything. It wasn't like I was drenching them, but
yeah,
that was something that Freight mentioned on the Ganyasoma website was with his Jansenii. He noticed that that misting on a regular basis seemed to stimulate breeding activity a little more. So this year I was like, I'll give that a shot and see what happens. I'll ramp up food a little more, and something worked. So
sounds like you need a drainage layer and auto spray.
I'm weird about room automation. I don't know about you guys, but I think there's such a thing as too much automation.
Well, no, I'm with you 1,000% in terms of like you going in your room and flipping the lights on every day. Like I commend you for that. That's awesome. But I feel like if you had like an automatic mister just for the month of November, December, just for those 2 months, just to give it that extra drizzle.
I just like to, I do that every morning. Like I turn off and turn on my lights every morning, every night, like by hand. It's only 3 power strips, but I just like you get the guys that have everything set on timers and everything's set to get like I feel like you miss things by not having to do that kind of stuff. Like as small as it is, like it's a short window to be observing things, but too much automation is in general too, not even just in reptiles. Too much automation can
for sure
be a bad thing.
Yeah, man, that's Mike Kosicki said it best. Be a scientist who observes. My fossorial stuff has got me in that snake room more than I've ever been in the past 5 years because I want to see them as much as human. I want to observe them as much as humanly possible because I'm still trying to. I don't want to say I'm dialing it in. I'm trying to find where the knobs are, for Christ's sake.
Do you have a camera in your room?
I don't, but it wouldn't matter because I was actually thinking about how to get a tiny camera in each tub. You know what I mean? Because even if I had a camera in the room, you can't see what the hell's going in there. The tubs have lids on them, so it wouldn't work. But something.
I don't know, man. Having that Wise camera that I can remotely access, and then I put in an SD card so I can go back. Because I did that with the chondros, and I was putting those 2 smaller chondros together, like to see if I got any locks. I'd scroll back in the morning. I'd go back and see if there was anything at night that looked like a solid lock. And then being able to, like, with the Jansenii during the day when I'm at work, no one's in the house, so it's quiet. And I don't have to worry about it. I can go in there and see, like, are they out and about? Are they doing anything? Like, that kind of stuff really, really comes in handy. And then when it comes hatching season, I pivot that camera and put it on the boxes of things that are hatching. So like while I'm at work, like me and my coworker, like looking at what's coming out and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty cool. But those things are cheap too. Like the Wise cameras, I've been really impressed with those for the price, and the app is really simple to use, and those have been great.
Now, do you have the interchangeable mounting bracket that you could stick on the inside of an enclosure?
I don't. Mine's on like a little like the little ATT things from Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
The little legs. It's on one of those. And I'll pivot that, and that has kind of been the biggest pain is like the glare from the night vision on like the Cambro tubs. Sometimes makes it really hard to see what's going on if the snakes are in the right angle. And then like the zoom capabilities on that thing too. Like when you bring it up on your screen and you zoom in. Like it does pretty well there too, but not having it would be nice. I've thought about putting in like mounting a camera in the Jansenii cage, but I'm almost positive it would get destroyed in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
like the thing would get unplugged immediately.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is when Henry and I were breeding the Siamensis, we put 2 Wise cams in on like the glass mount, with the like adhesive glass thing, and we got a first round of mating dance and twitching and flopping around, and then we got copulation, and then you literally watch the male just come over and just knock the whole camera off. So it definitely was bound to happen eventually, but it's still cool to put it in the enclosure, you know. I also think it's easier for you because you have a animal of some substantial size, while as my dirt snakes, they're like 8 to 10 inches. So even if I had it like positioned at the shelf to like kind of look through the tubs, the odds of me seeing anything are slim to none because they're so tiny, you know.
I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be worth a shot. You know, it's not, if the cameras were like stupid expensive, I'd say yeah, screw that. But
Yeah.
as cheap as they are, I mean, you never know. If go back, like I said, I go back and look and see what happened with chondros throughout the night, and you can fast forward and rewind through the whole thing, you know, in a few minutes. And
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know.
It's very true.
That's been a really handy room tool.
I believe it.
Between those and the Govies, you're set.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get into the Govee stuff. I keep saying I'm going to, and I don't.
Again, like super cheap, app super easy to use. Like the battery on them lasts forever. They're super accurate because I've calibrated them and tested them to see. Like I set the incubator at one temperature, put a Govee in there to see if that matches up with what I have the stat set at, and it's like they're dead on. You know, I've had a handful of them too, sort of at the same time, and I've tried them all to make sure they're calibrated and accurate, and like they've all been spot on. So
nice.
Phenomenal product.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think I have at least 2 or 3 in my room right now. I don't really check them a whole lot, but I have them there. And sometimes, like, especially now that it's starting to warm up, I'll put one in the Jansenite cage because with the Aki cage underneath them, one end gets pretty toasty, and then you have the heat of the room in general raising because of the sun and the temperature overall being. So usually this time of year, I'll start kind of putting Govies in different areas of the room for the day to see sort of what things are looking like at certain levels for certain animals, and just making sure everything's kind of under watch.
That's cool.
Smart. Yeah.
And those go to your phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you open the Govee app on your phone and you see your 3 or 4 units and what
you can name them. So you can name each unit. Okay. Usually I'll number them and I'll write on the back of them with a Sharpie what number they are, so I know what's what.
Nice.
Because then if you have them and they're not numbered and you don't know which one's which, you then have to like put one in the fridge or something to figure out which one's going on. But yeah, I name them, and then, you know, I'll have, like, I used to have one that was just for the incubator, and so I had that one labeled with an I, and I had it on my app as incubator. And you open up the app, and then you'll like refresh everything, and so it'll take a minute to kind of gather all the data. But then you go back and you can look at, you know, the temperature and what it does for the last like hour, for the last day, for the last week.
Oh, that's great.
You can export it all as like a Excel sheet if you want to.
Can you do like graphs?
It shows graphs. It has graphs that show you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're awesome, dude.
Dude, I'm all about the line graphs, man.
I never thought that something like that I would use it really all that much, but those things are fun, dude. You put them all over the place just to see what happens, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm definitely gonna get some.
Yeah, me too. Need to up my game.
I'm redoing the room completely, and it's going to be very different because I can't. The way I'm going to do it, it's basically going to be harmless on one side and venomous on the other side. And right now, it's just venomous, and it's just Africa and MENA region. So my temps are really high and really dry, and now I'm adding North American colubrids. So I got to kind of feather it. So I'm probably going to get the Govies before I really even start moving everything.
Which I will mention, they also monitor humidity at the same time.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
So you can get a graph that shows you humidity. You can get a graph that shows you temperatures. It'll show you both. Like if you go to the home screen, it'll have all your units that you have active. It'll tell you right there what the humidity is at that given time, what the temperature is, and then if you want to see the graph, you click on that unit, and it'll show you, you know, whatever you want to.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. But I gotta figure out which side is going to be more conducive to which ecosystem, if you will. So, and I'm honestly afraid that I may have to move those North American colubrids into another room, because it's just going to be, it's going to be too high and dry. So we'll see.
Humid hides, man.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Very
It's
true.
another thing that I started using within the last like 2 years with a lot of stuff, and I'm amazed at how often they use them.
Yeah, I got stuff that never leaves it.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally, I could probably just set up a humid hide like on a shelf and they just hang out there. Seems like.
Yeah. Dude, the Hondurans from Vic, those things do not leave the humid hide. They don't. And I actually put I have little Exoterra hygrometers that are wired, and I put a hygrometer in the humid hide, and I put a hygrometer in the same tub on the hot side of the tub, and the humidity is like 1 degree off, but they're in the humid hide because the moss is there, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, those gobies have come in handy too when I have stuff cooling. Like if I have it in the garage, you know, I cover everything up with a sheet, and I'll usually put a goby on top of the stack there, and then I can sort of, if things are getting particularly cold, I can see just how low things are getting at night, and
can you set an alarm, like a text alarm, if it does drop too low?
On some models, I believe you can.
Okay.
On like the base, like the small little square ones, I don't think that's an option. It may be through the app. I actually think you can.
Yeah, I thought they did.
Yeah. Like Middleton uses the sensor push brand ones, which are also nice, and you can buy like a separate sort of like router thing where you can remotely check what they're at.
Yeah.
I think Govee makes one too, but honestly, I don't see a need to necessarily do that. If I want to check on things, I just come home, and the Bluetooth range on them is actually surprisingly good too. Like I can be across the house and check and see what the temperature is in the incubator, you know, at any given time. And
I was just thinking, like, if you're using it with stuff that has heat tape or automation, like we talked about before.
Yeah.
And we've all had it where a rack goes haywire and it spikes, you know, and I would rather have it spike and me have the half an hour to go home and try and save them than not know for an 8-hour shift at work and come home to a rack of dead snakes. So just me being pragmatic.
I mean, if I was keeping stuff like bamboo rats that definitely needed to be kept at a lower temperature, I'd have gobies involved just to make sure that they're staying in the right range.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
faux show.
And Joe said he also has a Nest Cam that alerts him when it goes offline from power outages, so that's my alert to go check.
Oh, that's good. That's real good.
See, I don't know, like with the gobies and the power outage thing, I haven't had that issue. I think because it saves that information and sends it via Bluetooth, so the Wi-Fi is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, but it only alerts you when you're within Bluetooth range at that point.
Yeah. So that's kind of the one caveat with them is like, unless you're getting the ones that are remote, then like if you want to see what's going on, you have to be within Bluetooth range to get that data.
Okay. But if it is hooked up to Wi-Fi, you can do it anywhere in the world.
On the like higher end models, yeah.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool.
Let's see, Casey said, I have the Govee Gateway with the little pod sensors, and I like that a lot more than the square Govies, especially for my incubator since they take up less room. Yeah. Yeah, I need to look up, because I have like some of the older models, and then I have one that I got for Christmas. I don't know if that's replaced the older models as the baseline or if that's like the next level up.
Me and Billy are living in the Stone Age.
Very true.
Yeah, so the H5179 model is the one that I got for Christmas, and that one's $33 and change. And then like the baseline ones, looks like a 2-pack right now is $15. And they come with little lanyards too, so you can like hang them from stuff if you want to.
That would be cool if you hung it from the inside of an enclosure.
Yeah, I've done that too with like chondros.
Cool.
See what the sort of that ambient is. The true ambient.
Yeah, that's something that we don't typically think about. Is we temp gun stuff, but it's reading the surface.
Yep.
You know, and I learned this from when we went to Texas with Burke, because he not only had an ambient reader, but he had a temp gun. And they would be drastically different. You know, the rocks on the ground would be 110, but the ambient would only be 96 or 95, whatever. So that's a huge difference.
Yeah, and then, you know, microhabitats. In case you said with the gateway, you can check away from home. So that is like their remote router type deal.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I got to get some of those.
Yeah. Yes.
See, those are like cheap enough to where we could regularly do like a giveaway.
Yeah.
Those would be fun. That'd be a good one. I think when we did our Secret Santa thing, like half of us ended up getting gobies because we ended up just buying each other like 2-packs of them and sending them to each other. And I'm not complaining. I can never have enough. I asked for some for Christmas and got some because I was like, I have a freaking army of these things.
That's cool, man. That's cool. I imagine it'd also be very helpful with plants in terms of people that are growing plants for vivariums or people that have live plants in their vivariums. I feel like you could get more information from that than you ever could with just using like normal thermometers or the stick-on ones, or like what I like to call the mood ring ones, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, I saw this video on YouTube or Instagram the other day. Someone took that paint that they used to make those mood rings.
Yes, they did a
their
sink.
bathroom. Yeah, like their floors and their counter and their sink and like counters in their bathroom. It's friggin' cool.
That's cool. That was so cool. It
reminds
me
ugly as hell, but it was cool.
It reminds me of those bath mats that are white, and then when they get wet, they turn blood red.
Yeah.
So like you get out of the shower and like there's bloody footprints, like super creepy.
Because why not?
I would be terrified that like I accidentally cut my foot and I wouldn't know it.
The whole thing's turning red. What the hell?
Yeah, right. It won't wash out. Well, boys, we're at the 2-hour mark. Is there anything else you boys want to cover?
Nope.
Oh, I'm good.
Well, Billy, thank you for coming on the show. It was a pleasure as always.
Of course, it's been a bit. It's nice to be back.
You never left our hearts.
We never forgot.
Never forget.
This episode was brought to you by blackboxcages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. Use the code THN at checkout. Save yourself some money when you buy that excellent rack or that excellent cage or both. Treat yourself. And
treat yourself.
You need to hop over to Puget Sound Pythons on Facebook and Instagram and Morph Market and give them a follow on all 3 platforms. Because why not?
Why not?
And then, hey, Fulvius Apparel. Check it out. Facebook, Instagram. Working on the shop.
Gonna need that Morelia shirt. Stat.
The head stamp one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have a handful of those still. Those were screen printed, so those aren't really made to order like some of the other, like the Spilotes one is. So I have some. Pretty limited on colors and sizes because I, like an idiot, only did like 2 of each size and 3 different colors. So the extra larges went first. Go figure.
Go figure.
Naturally.
But we'll be back for THP on Thursday. It will, I think it'll be a pretty good episode. We will see.
Any teasers?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't know exactly what we're going to get into yet, but it's going to be a pretty interesting guest. So,
all right, good.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, Moon.
A comb and a brush and a bowl full of mush.